as we've mentioned before, Spider-Verse is on hiatus, but as always, Spider-Man is in our heart, Spider-Man is in our mind, Spider-Man is bae.
Yes.
And we've been talking about when we check in with each other, the scuttlebutt has been, Venom, Spider-Man 4, whatever. But there was this tweet, and this has been around for a minute. I want to say I saw you respond to it on the artist formerly known as Twitter.
Oh, yes.
But this is from Marvel Updates, who got it from the Geeky Cast, I guess.
Well, completely reputable sources.
Yeah.
Definitely trust.
So it says here, Sinister Six is reportedly moving forward in development. The team will consist of Kraven, Morbius, Vulture, Madam Web, and Venom. It is currently unclear if a Spider-Man will show up during the film, but the main villain will be Knull. So not really getting into the credibility of this report, although knowing Sony. Yeah. Oh, sure. I mean
the only thing that makes it sound like Sony is that it's a bad idea.
Yes.
but I mean, immediately there's holes in it. First of all, end of Venom Last Dance.
Yeah.
Tom Hardy's talking about it. He's not coming back for a Sinister Six movie.
Yeah.
So that's out, right? That's immediately discredited. And then you have like Morbius. Nobody liked it. No one likes Morbius.
Yeah.
No one's interested. You shoehorning Morbius into a Sinister Six movie because you made one doesn't work. Third thing, Madam Web, they have said out loud, Madam Web is in another universe. It's not connected to the Sonyverse as far as Venom and Morbius and everything is concerned. So that doesn't work either, unless they want to like do a multiversal thing with Spider-Verse. But even then, they can't or won't put Spider people in it, so they'd have to address the Spider-Verse in order to do it, which they're not going to. So that's out. So immediately, like Marvel updates, Mthreevil updates, like it's M4A VRE3evil. It's not really, it's just an underscore, but like it might as well be for the level of like credibility.
But what do you think about this iconic lineup? I mean, I know you just said why they're, but you remember this from the comics, the iconic lineup of Sinister Six being Kraven, Morbius, Vulture, Madam Web, and Venom. You remember?
Yeah. I love Madam Web being considered sinister, first of all. And secondly, I love Vulture being like, I'm not from this universe. Like, why am I here? Like,
well, that's true. The argument, your argument, Madam Web, Vulture is already from another universe.
Yeah,
which is
but
dumb.
He did that because of what happened in No Way Home. Not because of what happened in Madam Web and her whole multiversal web thing.
Yeah. So I know as of this recording, the director to Kraven has kind of been doing the circuit, being like, guys, come on, give us a chance, man. Give us a shot. Which I am sympathetic. I am sympathetic to him and his goals. And I want to say, the director did a movie, I think was it Triple Frontier, that was fine. It was fine. It was a Netflix movie with if I'm remembering right. I'm going to try and bring that up, but I was going to ask you, do you think they still want to do a Sinister Six? Of course they do. Of course Sony does want to.
Easily. They definitely do.
But is there any sense, is JC Chandor is the director of Kraven? He did A Most Violent Year. Great. And Triple Frontier. So he's made movies.
He's made films.
Yeah. He has made films. Are we holding out for Kraven? Is the nail in the coffin for Sinister Six? Like, what do you think? What do you think the bean counters at Sony are thinking about?
There's no such thing as a nail in the coffin for Sony. Like, there's no failure too deep that Sony will ignore to do this thing that no one wants. Like, I don't understand it. The fact that, like, when they announced a Kraven the Hunter movie, and everyone going, no, and then we're like, we're full steam ahead.
Yeah.
Like, they'll like it. It's just a parent trying to make their kids eat their vegetables, but the vegetables are poison. And I don't understand why they are so insistent on this whole everything. Like, just especially because Sony has proven, like, you can't make movies. Like, you don't know how to make movies. Okay, that's fine. Like, but you do like making money. That I get.
Yeah.
And I get being lazy or incompetent or both.
Yeah.
You own Spider-Man, right? Like, business-wise, what's the laziest, easiest, most lucrative opportunity they could have? There's a few options. They could keep making movies despite their lack of creativity.
Yeah.
Which has proven to be, at the very least, a gamble. They could sell the whole kit and caboodle back to Marvel, and my guess is Spider-Man would be worth a Star Wars. So probably like $4.5 billion, right?
Yeah.
Like that's probably my guess would be what Sony would want to sell Spider-Man for. I'm sure they flouted the idea of like an $8 billion thing, which is just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But like they could sell the whole thing for $4 billion, short term, large gain, right? $4 billion. That's not bad. That could help. You know, I could retire on that. But then there's the other option, which is the one that bridges the gap between the two other options, which is just license Spider-Man to Marvel.
Yeah.
And stop. Just stop and just collect a check.
Yeah.
You know, like just go whatever you want to do until for as long as you want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll just collect a check and let you be creative for us, which has worked out pretty well since I don't think any Spider-Man movie until Feige got onto it has made $1 billion.
So I've heard some people, you know, whenever we do these videos, people in the comments be like, there's rights issues with the Spider-Man stuff to the degree. And I've heard this is true with the Spider-Man Noir show. The Nick Cage Spider-Man Noir his civilian name is Ben Reilly. Like when people say that, I'm like, no, there's not a rights issue. Sony owns it. And then they basically rent him out to Marvel to do that. But when then I heard they're calling Spider-Man Noir Ben Reilly, I'm like, is part of the deal between Marvel and Sony that Sony can't do Peter Parker without Marvel's thumbs up? That's wild. That's a wild.
I mean, and I think it's funny, like in a way. I know it's disruptive, and certainly Madam Web suffered because of it, because clearly there was another movie there.
Yeah.
Like very clearly there was another movie, and they just messed it up. They just broke it to appease whoever. And Sony has very clearly done whatever they want to for as long as they wanted to.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of glee in my heart knowing that like Marvel is doing to Sony what Sony has done to them for years. But I don't know. I mean, Marvel wouldn't be what it was before the multiverse saga without lacking Spider-Man, you know? Because clearly, like, if Marvel Studios had the rights, if they were just like, we'll never get out of bankruptcy by selling the rights to these characters. That's the only way. So they get out of bankruptcy, they make their studio. Yeah. The first movies they're going to make are Spider-Man, Wolverine, you know, the X-Men.
Yeah, Spider-Man, X-Men, and then it's basically Spider-Man, X-Men immediately. Yeah. And then the Avengers would be their Wolverine. Own. Then it would be an Avengers movie. We wouldn't have bothered with Cap, Iron Man, whatever. It would just been the Avengers.
It would have been the new Avengers. They would have called it the Avengers. It would have been Cap, Spider-Man, Iron Man. Like you would have met those characters by way of the characters that they know sell. Yeah. But as a result of them not having those characters, they had to be even more creative. They had to lean into what makes the characters that they did have so iconic and special, and as a result made Captain America and Iron Man and even the Guardians of the Galaxy household names, household products. Like they are ubiquitous. Now everybody knows Star-Lord, a character that whose name I never ever thought would ever reach anyone's lips outside of a very niche audience of comic book fans. For me, at least as far as like the balancing of the universe, I'm like, so you did it. You proved you can do it. Your reward should be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You know, like you proved you can make these movies. You've proved you can do it. You don't need to keep trying to make an Iron Man work. Yeah. You should just have the things that work. Some of those things worked out. The X-Men, Wolverine, except even then, I think they're dropping the ball because you could feel this lack of urgency about recasting and about setting up a new universe for X-Men. And it's to their detriment. But this is all to say, I mean, like the Sinister Six movie is a freaking horrible idea, but it looks like now, you know, it used to be Marvel was like the guiding star. You'd be looking at the other studios going like, why aren't you just doing what they're doing? Yeah. And now like Marvel's just one of the crowd. Yeah. Marvel, you know, people are asking James Gunn question about DC and he's like, we need to get back to like the way it used to be, like pre-Marvel. And I'm like, are you nuts? Like what? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Do I live long enough to see myself become the villain here? Like, what are we doing? Like, don't we understand like what was exalted and what wasn't, and what worked and what didn't? Like, and just, you know, that's me. That was I remember being as a kid wondering like when the inevitability is, you know, like George Lucas was like a non-studio guy, right? Had more money than God, could do whatever he wanted. So it's like you could get literally anybody to be in a new Star Wars movie. And you get anybody to direct the Star Wars movie. Like you could get the perfect people. Like, you could get Steven Spielberg to direct your Star Wars movie. You could get like 6 different amazing writers to get on board. You know, you could literally, like, you could raise Harlan Ellison from the grave and have him like co-write the script with Aaron Sorkin and make the most like heady, dramatic, exciting Star Wars opera, and get the entire Royal Shakespeare Company to play the Jedi Masters. And instead he's like, I'll do it myself. And it's like, oh, well, here's the result. Like, I just, and I think it all has to do, and it's just Spider-Man, Marvel, DC, ego.
Yeah.
It's just a massive, like, you know, we talk about the cloud. It's just an ego, and they're all just tapping into it, and then trying to execute their vision while also working with thousands of hardworking, equally creative people who are also trying to make their dreams.
Yeah, and it's weird too, because I wonder sometimes if maybe the social media brain rot like seeps into studio discussions, because I feel like part of this conversation, because before I was arguing against a Fantastic Four movie that's actually happening, I was arguing with other fans who were like, how do they explain how the Fantastic Four... Just do it. You don't need to explain shit, man.
I know.
And
I don't understand that this reticence to just do the simple thing.
Just do it. And it takes me back to when you're talking about like Civil War era, I think, to those Netflix shows, and people were like... And at the time, it was like, listen, they're going to allude to the Avengers, but they exist in a different pocket. And so there's the same universe, but whatever. But people are like, how could it be the same universe when it feels so different? And I'm like, I don't know, man. When I'm picking up Bendis and Alex Maleev's Daredevil run, I'm not wondering like, well, this clearly is from a different... It's so totally different than
Busiek and Perez's Avengers. And it's like, they're the same universe. They just have different tones.
Different creative tones. You know what I mean? Like, it's not complicated. But before we go, I do want to ask you 2 things about circling back to this Sinister Six movie we're definitely getting. You'll notice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Kraven, Morbius, Vulture, Venom, Madam Web, and Venom. That's only 5 people in this lineup, this Sinister Six lineup. Who is your 6th member?
Oh, man. I mean... It could be something as simple as the Rhino they introduce in
Kraven.
If they don't kill him, which of course they will. They're going to kill Rhino in the Kraven movie because they kill every villain in the movie.
Yeah, it'll be like, you know what? This Rhino's not too bad. Maybe we could do, and then it'll explode, and you're like, what are we doing? What's happening?
Like, why are you in this business?
Yeah.
It could be Rhino, it could be Chameleon. I know Chameleon's also in the Kraven movie. But I don't think they're going to go that easy. Again, that would make sense because they were introduced. So no, they're going to introduce a new character.
Well, I know. It'll be our window character, like the person that's like, who are these people that I'm teaming up with? Like, maybe it'll be, because I know Donald Glover's working on that Hypno Hustler movie. You know,
I don't think it's going to be Hypno Hustler, but I don't think that movie is going to happen. I genuinely don't think that movie is going to happen. I feel like it was a thing he said, and then that's it. But I mean, but you're not wrong about maybe Prowler. Like maybe we get Donald Glover as Prowler.
Dude, I'm surprised as we've greenlit this stuff. Not a Donald Glover Prowler, not a.
Insane.
Have his Aaron Davis maybe be mentored, get like a more established actor to play an older Hobie Brown that like passes on the Prowler.
Yeah, that's a Prowler movie. I mean, there's a million different Sony movies they could have made. They're like, oh, if you wanted a character, you can make a Night Watch movie, you can make a Cardiac movie, you can
Black
make
Cat,
a
which they were talking about for a while,
Silver Fable movie. Like, there's a lot of different characters that you could have made, and they made Morbius. But I think what they could do, and the only thing that's worth it, the only thing that would make this movie worth it, is the Ultimate Six route, because in the Ultimate Six there were 5 villains as well, and they were like, but who's the 6th? Because Norman kept referring to the 6th. Now it could be you could make it be like a multiversal, bad guy from the Raimi movies, but I think the 6th one is Spider-Man, and he's going to be like manipulated into being a member of the 6th. That way, just like in Ultimate Six, where they were like, no, the 6th member is Peter.
Interesting, but that would
require Spider-Man.
That would require Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Well, listen, gang, let us know in the comments who you think should be the 6th member of the Sinister Six. Are you excited for a hypothetical Sinister Six movie? I know you're not, but you can pretend in the comments. Let us know, and we'll keep you updated as things progress in the Spider-Man land.